Chapter 1855. At the time when the two sides were deadlocked, the head of China's Homeland Security Department had already flown to Osaka Airport by special plane. With him was the director of the TMPD. Originally, they were under tremendous pressure and had carried out a carpet investigation in Beijing. They tried their best to catch the group of murderers, so that they could give an explanation to the people and the high-level officials. But what they didn't expect was that these murderers were more cunning than foxes and left no useful clues at all. When they originally wanted to continue expanding their search range, they suddenly received a message from a mysterious man saying that the murderer had arrived in Osaka and would return to Japan by plane from Osaka. This shocked the people of the Department of Homeland Security. If this group of people were really allowed to run away, this sensational massacre that caused a stir across the country might never be solved. At that time, the Chinese TMPD and the Homeland Security Department would be completely thrown into the mud and scolded by thousands of people. Therefore, the Homeland Security Department immediately made a decision to directly take over the case from the TMPD and then notify the self-defense forces in Osaka to take over and prevent the plane from taking off at all costs. The Chinese self-defense force had tens of thousands of troops stationed in Osaka. Upon receiving instructions from the Homeland Security Bureau, they immediately dispatched the most powerful special forces to Osaka Airport. Moreover, the Homeland Security Department even made an emergency plan to prepare a fighter squadron. If the special forces failed to stop the private jet and allowed it to take off, the Chinese self-defense forces' fighter jets would immediately take off, trying to force it to return to Osaka Airport and land before it left China's airspace. At this time, the special plane of the Department of Homeland Security had just stopped. The person in charge immediately picked up the phone and asked, "How is the situation on the scene now? Is the other party's plane under control?" On the phone, the voice of the operational commander came immediately. "Now the opponent's aircraft is surrounded by our square-wheeled armored vehicles, and there is no possibility of breaking through, but the opponent has not yet been captured. We are already preparing for a storm." "Okay," the head of the Department of Homeland Security gritted his teeth and said, "Give them 1 more minute. If they don't surrender obediently, immediately carry out a live ammunition attack. This time, we must kill these cruel desperados in one fell swoop and give it to all of China. The people will not care." Following his order, boarding vehicles with boarding ladders slowly drove towards Su's plane from both sides. Combat squads with live ammunition had assembled under the plane. Once the boarding car was aimed at the cabin door, they would quickly rush up, blow up the cabin door, and use flash bombs and tear gas to conduct the first round of attack. Their firearms had also been inspected. The All-American assault rifles had very powerful firepower. Once fire was exchanged, these Sioux family's subordinates would have no power to parry. At this time, Ruoli, through the window, saw the boarding car approaching. She was already extremely nervous, but she still didn't know what to do. Someone around her panicked and proposed, "Let's open the hatch and surrender honestly. If they attack by force, the bullet will not be long-sighted." "Surrender," someone immediately scolded angrily. "DMN. I killed 4 of the Matsumoto family alone. Isn't surrendering equal to death? I will definitely be sentenced to death by then." "The death penalty does not matter," another person blurted out. "The execution cycle of the death penalty in China is very long. Do you know the terrorist who committed terrorist attacks at Beijing subway stations before? Their leader Shoko Asahara used sand in 1995. Lin Duqi attacked the Beijing subway and shocked the world, but he was not executed until 2018, and it was delayed for more than 20 years. Even if we are sentenced to death, we can at least live in prison for more than 10 or 20 years. It's better than being shot to death right now, right?" "Yes," someone stood up, clenched a fist, and said, "With our strength, even if we go to prison, we can definitely become a hegemon in the prison. No one will bully us. Then we can live even in prison. Very comfortable. Why don't you think about it now? The conversation between these people immediately convinced most people. If you can live, no one is willing to give up the hope of survival. Even living in prison is much better than dying on the spot. So everyone looked at Rowley and blurted out, "Miss Rowley, let's surrender."